What's going on, everybody? Kwaku here, back with another video. Today I have for you a return to some of the apps that I've looked at in the past. Today obviously is Files app. I called it Files UWP in the past because it was a UWP app, or it is. This time they have created an updated version of it. Files version 2 is basically what it is. It's just called Files in the Microsoft Store. In fact, here is the entry right here. Files File Manager for Windows by Yair A and a bunch of other people. It is a very, very good looking application. And it's not just good looking, it's also very deep. Like it does a lot, and it does pretty much everything you're gonna need from a file manager on Windows at this point. So in this video, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at the difference between this application and the original File Explorer as well. And I'll tell you one thing, there's going to be a whole lot of praise from me for the first time on this channel about an application. So let's jump into it. So this is the Files application, and it is by Yair A on the Microsoft Store. And remember, I looked at it in the past about a year ago when I first resurrected this channel, and to me, I haven't looked at this in a long time in terms of an app review for it, just because I really wanted to immerse myself into the application. For pointers, a lot of the apps I'd looked at in the past, I would only look at it for like a week or so before making a judgment talking about it. But this one, I've been using it for like a month and a half or more. Who knows? I don't even know the number of time that I've been using it. And it just works so well. And this is why. So for starters, the design is pretty much exactly what you expect when Panos Panay walked on stage and said, this is Windows 11 and this is how it looks like with all the redesign changes and things like that. This is what you expect. This kind of level of polish and fleshed outness is what you expect Microsoft to do. Obviously, they're a big corporation. They can't do everything. So Yair and team made this application, and it looks gorgeous. Now, this is the original File Explorer right here. This is a quick access tab that I always go to. And this is essentially their version of the quick access tab right there. Let me shrink it down so it looks pretty even. So these are the two different File Explorers, right? Windows 11's default and this one. So let me go in fact to this PC so you can see this exact view of how it looks like. The folders are the same, but everything else is just so modernized, so filled out with Fluent, and the mica look in it, and just everything in it. Obviously, when you click it, it becomes see-through-ish. You can see the desktop background in the background. On the Windows version, on the Windows 10 and 11 version, it's kind of got that see-through glow inside through it, but it's not much, and there's no customizability inside of it. Another thing, obviously, it's got tab support, which is something we've all wanted on a File Explorer for any platform for so long. I think Mac OS has one, but Windows still does not have tab support. So it's got multiple tabs like that. And then inside each tab, if you go into, say, I'm going to my other Drive D, it's got dual pane mode. Now, dual pane mode basically allows you to open up two files or two folders side by side in one tab. So if I right click a folder and then I say, hey, I want to make it a secondary pane, it says here, open in secondary pane, and boom, the contents of that folder here are in a secondary pane. And then I want to open up my games folder here, which for some reason has the Oculus logo on it. I can pull it up here and I can be like, all right, I got my games here. I got whatever this stuff is here, and it just works. And you might wonder, how do I know what folder I have open again? It is actually up here on the tab. You see this little line through it. So you see games is on one side, downloads is on the other. So by default, games on one side, downloads on the other. So it makes sense. Also, these are all able to be stretched. So right here, I can shrink this right here, make it bigger, make it smaller, and things like that. I wish it could be even smaller, but it doesn't shrink this too much. And then when you look on this side for the normal File Explorer, you can see it's got signs of age in it already just by comparison. You can clearly see that if I go back home right here, right? You can clearly see that this looks like it's got some Windows 10 in it, some Windows 8 in it, some Windows 7 in it, you know, for some of the icons and the way this is squared here, but yet they got rounded corners on it and things are updated. And it's just, to me, Files UWP, or the Files application that was made, is pretty dope. Another thing too, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just go to this new folder right here, or this new tab, and then I'll show you settings. So settings, it's got some preferences in it, obviously. And one highlight is it allows you to customize themes for it. Now, I'm not sure if you need to download a separate file for this to work, because I had to, but I don't know if he's updated it to maybe you don't need to anymore. I don't see that app anymore, apps for themes for files. But you can see there are various different themes. If you want blue acrylic, you can change it, and it changes it to a bluish look, acrylic-y still, so you can see through the desktop background. You got like a burgundy look, you got like a cybery look, you got a whole bunch. So let's say red wave and all these other things. And I'm gonna go back actually. Oh, one last thing, Discord colored look, which kind of looks default anyway, and so on. Obviously, you still got your light theme and dark theme. Now, another thing that I like about this application is, let's say you like certain apps to have their light theme and certain apps to be in dark theme. It doesn't have to be OS wide where everything has to be, but you can set it as default. So this application will just follow what the OS does, or you can just make this application be freakishly bright. So if that's up to you, I just keep it default just because that's what I care about. You can change startup preferences, which is when you first open up the application. Terminal applications right here is another highlight where you can choose by default. I think it's command prompt is what the default terminal application is. I personally just changed it over to Windows Terminal because it does command prompt anyway in it. Choose sidebar preferences, which enables and disables various sections on this sidebar here. Another thing Windows does not do on its File Explorer very easily. So if I want these cloud drive section to disappear and re-enabled, I can re-enable it. And then obviously if I exit out of this, I can just hit the drop down to see it in full. Windows subsystem for Linux section, WSL section, network section if you have network drives, and so on. Multitasking, this is where you enable dual pane mode. I never use dual pane mode, that's why I had it off, but for the purposes of this video, I turned it on for you guys to see how it looks. Files and folders, you can change various things. So you can choose for it to hide protected operating system files, so that way you don't accidentally delete an operating system file in your testing and then you ruin your computer. So that's something I just checked off just in case, because I do a lot of testing on this. Show unindexed items when searching for files and folders. Searches may take longer. By default, it just only searches for indexed files. And then you got experimental here, which enables file tags, basically like macOS's file tags. So in a nutshell, it is a very, very, very good application. One last thing before I close out the video though, or two last things, is a lot of the shortcuts you expect from a file explorer exist in here, and even the right click context menu is consistent across the whole thing. There's no more option at below that like changes the layout, makes it look weird. Kind of like if I go back to my desktop here and I right click here and it says show more options, then it makes it like the old style, just rounded. It doesn't do that. It's just like you either like it or you don't. In a way, sometimes I wish Microsoft would just do it that way. Another thing too, if you hit control and you scroll with your mouse, it increases and decreases. I'm not sure why it creates a background sometimes, but it just auto resizes. And one thing that I wanted to say is that I was speaking to the developer and I was saying, what if you could include CoverFlow? For those of you who don't know about CoverFlow, it'll probably end up on the screen. And that is Apple's old way of looking through your music and things like that. But they also had it in macOS for a while, up until I believe Lion or something. What if we had CoverFlow as a layout mode? Right now we have all of these layouts here, tiles and large icon stuff. Why not add CoverFlow to it? So he said maybe. He didn't say anything guaranteed, but who knows? You might actually get CoverFlow support on it, where something that Apple pretty much took away. So yeah, last thing too, it's got cloud drive support, like I said. So by default, you don't just add your cloud drives and so on like this. Basically, it just senses whatever cloud storage devices you have on your computer, whether it's Google Drive, iCloud, OneDrive, and so on, and it just pushes them in there up by default. And then a last thing before we close out the video here is this is the Wayne website. And what I wanted to show is under the docs area right here. Now under the docs here, it says configuring files. And what you can do here is something that you guys have been asking for a very long time, even for me to ask, how do you do this? And that is replacing File Explorer with files, even though it's unsupported. It requires some registry hacks, registry editing, but so you got to be careful with it. But if you do it right, like I did, all you do is let's say I exit out of all windows and I exit out of this here. My file button, when I hit my File Explorer here, it doesn't open up Windows File Explorer. It opens up the Files application. The only thing that this doesn't affect is when you're downloading a file from your web browser, unless there's a way to fix that I haven't figured out. That's the only thing it doesn't affect. That still shows the old File Explorer. But everything else that you do in Windows, it pulls open the new, this files application that this person made or this group of people made. And that's amazing to me. So to me, my message to the developers of this application and Yair, keep it up. Keep up the amazing work. You know, this is highlight portfolio work right here. Keep it up. I'd love to see any kind of changes that come to this application. I won't make videos on every change unless it's super major, but if I see another design shift in it, or somehow they put themes of like, maybe you can put a Metro type theme on here and stuff, skin on here, by all means, you will see this, a video come out on this channel looking at this application again. But for now, this is probably my #1 recommended application on the Microsoft Store to date. This is the #1 application I've ever used on the Microsoft Store. Highly recommend everybody take a look at it. Once again, it is free, and you just search for files and it should pop up. Find this icon, it'll pop up. Even the icons, even the screenshots are updated with a recent computer from Microsoft, which is the Surface Laptop Studio. Even that is. No other applications really update their screenshots to the latest stuff. So solid. And if you have any other applications you want me to take a look at, if you're a developer and you have an app you might want me to look at, I'll see if it might end up on the channel. Leave it in the comment section below, or you can send me an email, nextgenwindows@gmail.com. All of that information is in the description box, just like the app. Link to this application to download it is also going to be in the description box below as usual. My name is Kwaku, and hope you guys have a safe and fantastic day. I'm recording this at night, so good night, everybody.